So recently, I got my hands on an official copy of Pokemon Emerald. Don't ask me how much I spent on it, I really don't want to talk about it. While I have experienced Tone before through Alpha Sapphire, that was over a decade ago, so my memory on the region has gotten a little hazy. As a result, I ended up getting lost a few times or simply just didn't know what to do next. The experience has been rather fun and it's made me look back on some other Pokemon games I've played, and I wanted to talk about just how much I enjoy both linear and non-linear gameplay in Pokemon. To start off, my only real problem with exploring Emerald isn't really with the game itself, and more so older Pokemon games in general, that being HMs. While I don't dislike most HMs, with Surf and Fly being extremely useful both in and outside of battle, one HM I don't really enjoy is Rock Smash, as it's only really needed a small handful of times in most games it's available in, and its damage is on the low end because of how early you're supposed to get it in most games. But enough about HMs, that isn't what the video is really about. Through playing Emerald, I found myself getting lost relatively easily, and it's honestly felt pretty freeing, just getting to explore Hoenn without being told where to go next at all times, having the choice to backtrack if I don't want to face certain gym leaders yet, or just randomly finding Team Aqua or Team Magma Grunts and putting a stop to their mischiefs. One other game that's been a bit more linear while at the same time being more open world that I really enjoyed exploring is Pokemon Scarlet. I said Scarlet is both more linear and yet more open world, but what exactly did I mean by that? Well, by linear, I mean you can't exactly challenge the gyms in any order you want, as they won't adjust their levels for you. Same goes for Team Star and the Titans. But what you can do is choose in what order to do each route of the story or skip the different story routes and come back to them later. Pokemon Scarlet's story is personally one of my favorite storylines in Pokemon, and I'd honestly put it just under the Unova duology. While you are free to explore all of Paldea in any order you want, the lack of level scaling for all the areas and bosses does hold this game back a little bit. When I first played through Scarlet, I mostly stuck to the gyms and tackled Team Star and Arven's routes when their parts of the story were close to the gyms I was about to face. Like I said prior, the only real problem with this was the lack of level scaling, so you could challenge a boss when you're not ready for it, or accidentally overlevel your Pokemon and take away any real challenge from the early game. I do hope for future installments that Game Freak does add level scaling, as the freedom to tackle the story in any way you want really does make the game feel more personal. One other game that adds a little bit of non-linear storytelling is Heart Gold. The main story starts off as linear, but once you move past Morty's gym, you're faced with the choice of getting to battle the next 3 gyms in any order you wish. After beating Morty, the 4th gym leader, you unlock Surf and you're free to go do the Jasmine and Sick Ampharos storyline, where you'll need Surf to get the medicine for the said Sick Ampharos. You can avoid Chuck's gym entirely, as he's not a requirement to obtain the medicine. Then, once you backtrack and give Jasmine the medicine for the Sick Ampharos, you unlock her gym battle. Or instead of doing the storyline first, you can choose to do the Lake of Rage storyline first, where you can catch the Raging Shiny Gyarados, meet Lance and storm the Team Rocket hideout, which will unlock Price's gym. You can pretty much challenge these 3 gyms in any order, however the level gap between the 3 is pretty noticeable, so you'll either have a hard time or an extremely easy one if you're not careful about which order you challenge the 3. A similar situation happens in the postgame. Everyone knows that you get to go to Kanto after beating the Elite Four. You can also face all the Kanto gym leaders. From your arrival, you can pretty much challenge most gyms from town to town. However, you can also skip the order the game subtly suggests to you and challenge them in canon order. I did this once in a playthrough and I didn't realize just how jarring the level gaps would be. This, alongside Heart Gold's level curve not being the greatest, can certainly make things difficult. While exploration in semi-open worlds can be fun, I will say linear gameplay can also be enjoyable, such as the case with Pokemon Black and White. Pokemon Black and White take a much more linear approach than the last 3 games I mentioned, and it's for a pretty good reason. I mentioned already that I would put Scarlet's storyline just under the Unova duology, and the reason why is because of just how integral the story is to the game. With each badge unlocked, the story progresses more and more, and not just for the game's main antagonist N, but also for our rivals Cheren and Bianca. Getting to see these 3 characters grow throughout the game's story is fantastic, and it's not something I believe could be done in an open world setting. While most of N's character growth is done in Black and White, with the final battle taking place right after beating the Elite Four, we don't get to see the results of Cheren and Bianca's growth until Black 2 and White 2, where Cheren has become a gym leader and Bianca a Pokemon Professor assistant. N also reappears in these sequels, and we get to see just how much he's changed towards the end of the games. From someone who believed people and Pokemon should be separated, to someone who sees the true value of a trainer and your Pokemon's bonds. Getting to see these 3 grow and develop into the people they're meant to be is amazing. With each badge, the story would actively progress, whether it was Team Plasma scheming, Cheren struggling to find his place in the world, or Bianca's family troubles. Each badge has its own arc tied to it in Pokemon Black and White, and it's one of my favorite forms of storytelling. One quick honorable mention to Pokemon Sword and Shield. I know a lot of people have problems with the story's conclusion, but personally, I find it later pretty fun. The game being linear was important as we got to see some of our rival stories play out pretty well throughout the game. Hop learning from defeat, Marnie becoming our friend, and Bae getting both disowned and adopted was pretty great to watch. I wish I could say more, but honestly, my mind's a bit hazy on Shield, so I'll have to leave it at that. As someone who has grown up with Pokemon, it wasn't until recently that I realized just how different all the games were with their approach to exploration and storytelling. I'm looking forward to what Legends ZA will do when it comes out later this year.